Hey there, everybody. Pastor John here, and I'm so excited to be with you here today because we actually have a very special guest. We have Brother Robin Dunn here with us to talk about his new book, God Encounters, A Journey into the Supernatural. And so, Robin, I'm going to just go and ask what everybody already wants to know. So, why did you write this book?
It was kind of an evolution of things. It really started back in 2014.
Mhm.
The Lord had been reminding me of my encounters, of my testimonies, because
Mhm.
that's really what this is about. It's about testimonies, and um, and so I felt like the Lord wanted me to start to kind of bring them into remembrance,
Mhm.
to start writing them down. And so I started writing down just these short stories of, yeah, I remember God did this, and it started evolving into more of not just what happened, but what I learned through the process, what God was teaching me, and then to start uh, moving into more telling people, what they can do with this information. So it evolved from just writing things down into a blog that
Mhm.
I started in 2014. Had a few hundred followers, didn't have a great impact, but with each one of my little stories
Mhm.
was, and here is what you can learn
Mhm.
from this, and from there it evolved just into more of a teaching. And then in 2022, I was just in this time of prayer, and I heard the Lord say, "Write a book."
Mhm.
And I just was like, I've never done this before. So
Right.
I decided, okay, let's write the book. And that's when I started writing this and compiling it and trying to carry a common theme.
Oh, okay. So, would you say this is somewhat of a life story or a teaching or both? Or
Somewhat of a life story.
Mhm.
I think all of the above.
Mhm.
It's a life story in that these are parts of my testimony. I mean, we have 20 chapters here, and it's an ongoing kind of testimonial, but it's not a blow by blow, year by year, thing of this, and then God did this, or then I experienced this. It's really more of these were specific encounters, and it's not all the encounters I've ever had with God. I think as
Mhm.
Christians, we all, get a lot of experiences,
Yeah.
but these were impactful to my growth as a Christian. And that's why I selected these. And so, again, if it were a life story, it would be like the size of the encyclopedia. I mean, it would just be a
Right.
long life story, but it's really more selected of these specific encounters that had an impact on me and what I learned through it.
Okay, so is that the main theme of it?
Yeah, so the main theme is really encountering God,
Mhm.
and how God became real,
Oh.
not
Mhm.
just a theological or, yeah, okay, we believe in God, but what is God really? No, this became very personal to me. And so the theme was really about my growth in faith. I think of Romans 1:17, which the pastor actually kind of quoted when Paul was talking about, I'm not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation. And,
Mhm.
and then the next verse talks about from faith to faith, that basically the righteousness and the glory of God is revealed from faith to faith. And that verse impacted me several years ago
Mhm.
because it was this idea that faith has to grow.
Mhm.
And what this book is really about is my faith growing and recognizing that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It's still forcefully advancing,
Right.
and the forceful need to lay hold of it. And so there's the secondary part of the theme of there are two things that God spoke to me, and I'm speaking back to the audience. And that is, what are you willing to believe for?
Mhm.
And then the Lord hitting me with, it's time to believe for the unbelievable,
Oh, wow.
recognizing that whatever I currently find unbelievable now are the very things that God wants me to start believing Him for.
Mhm.
So that's really kind of the theme. Um, but then the secondary part of it is really kind of calling the reader to that as well.
Okay, so I mean, there's a lot there, and so if you were to boil everything down to, I guess, one point for the audience, what would that be?
I think it would be that the kingdom of heaven is at hand,
Mm. Mhm.
and it's up to them to seize the kingdom. God is looking for those who will be forceful in laying hold of the kingdom
Mhm.
and will confront their own limitations, their own boundaries of their faith. I find it really interesting, and I've talked with a lot of Christians over the years, and especially when we talk about signs and wonders, healings, speaking in tongues, all of the things that we as Pentecostals, we believe. But then when we start talking to Christians who are not of the Pentecostal faith, and they will inevitably, I get people that will say, well, if this is true, how come I'm not experiencing it?
Oh, man.
Why isn't God doing it in my life if this is true? And the simple answer is you don't believe. You're not believing that God is doing this. And they always fall back on, but I believe in Jesus. And so that's where that other question comes in of, but what are you willing to believe Jesus for?
Right, yeah.
So I believe in Jesus. What do you believe about Jesus? What do you believe about the kingdom of heaven? And that's where the Lord is saying it's time to come up higher in your faith, to grow from faith to faith. So if a person is not believing in signs, wonders, healings, tongues, all of those things, honestly, they shouldn't expect to see it. So that was kind of the long answer. But the primary point is it's time to start casting off your restraints. It's time to confront your limitations of your faith and start believing God for the things that are currently unbelievable to you.
Wow, that's definitely some good stuff to be excited about.
Yeah.
And so I'm definitely going to get a copy. And just to make sure for the audience, so when is your book launch? I believe you're having one, right?
We're having our book launch 6:30 p.m. here at the church. And we'll be doing book signing and have a little presentation. So it'll be really great. Yeah. So people can, if you're in Southern California, come to this book launch, because I think it'll be a blessing to you, and you'll get a personal signed copy of my book. If you are unable to make that, you can also pick up a copy on Amazon. Just do a search for God Encounters Robin Dunn. It will take you right to that. It's only $15, and you could pick up your copy today.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Robin, for telling us a little bit about the book, when it's going to come out. And it starts to plant the seeds of what we can expect, right, as we pick up a copy and actually read it for ourselves. And so with that, thank you so much for joining us. Please come out to the book launch, and hey, get ready to take your faith to another level as you get this book and actually put it into practice in your life. God bless you.